Hire, training, and keeping talent when everyone's burnt out. The market's gotten crazy. And what are we doing to keep the people? Finding and keeping good people is harder than ever. This episode, we're going to talk about how to attract them, motivate them, retain them, and grow them so they want to stay. Now, I'm telling you, business leaders, you're going to want to listen to this. Welcome to season 7 of Referral Roadmap. Business growth in an age of AI and uncertainty. This season, we're cutting through the noise and getting real about what actually moves the needle for small businesses in 2026. From AI tools that save you time, to winning in the zero-click search era, to building teams and systems, resilience, and a referral engine that still wins even in a digital age. We're giving you strategies you'll need to grow with confidence no matter what the economy throws your way. Let's dive in. You're not going to want to miss this one. Now, if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to want to listen to this because if you listen to our podcast, you're going to get so successful, you're going to need to hire. So you're going to want to listen to. I'm just saying. No, really, we need to listen to this. This is a subject that's near and dear to our hearts and many of my coaching clients. So we're going to unpack it. Hey, Jada, though, let's go a little bit deeper for our listeners today in what we're really going to cover in this episode. But before we do, I want to thank everybody for being here. And we're going to say it. Please like and subscribe. The only way that we have legitimacy so we can get additional impact in the community world, in the online world. And we need you to leave a review so that it gives us authenticity as well. But more importantly, I promise you there's a business person you know who needs to hear this. If you would be kind enough to be a hero today and share it with them, we'd greatly appreciate it so that you can take what our heart is for impact, take it to your heart and pass it forward. So,
Hmm.
Jada, let's go into the details.
Yes. Well, talent is the heartbeat of every successful business. No matter how strong your product or service is, you can't scale without the right people in the right roles or the right booties and the right seats on the bus. But in today's economy, finding, training, and keeping that really good talent is harder than ever because burnout is real. Employees want more than a paycheck. They want purpose. They want flexibility, growth, and a culture where they feel valued. Remote and hybrid work have also changed the game since COVID, forcing leaders to rethink how they build connection, accountability, and engagement across different settings. So that's where the new playbook comes in. Building a team in 2026 isn't about perks or ping pong tables. It's about creating an environment where people are motivated, supported, and aligned with your mission. So that means hiring for culture fit and values, not just skill sets, not just the best resume. Training with intention so people know how to win in their role and grow in their career, fostering engagement through feedback, recognition, and clarity or purpose, and then building resilience into your culture so that your team can thrive even when times are tough. So, in short, talent in the new economy isn't about just filling those positions. It's about building a team that wants to stay, wants to grow, and help your business succeed.
Mm, so important.
Hmm.
So important right now. Talent, if you look back, and I don't know if you already have some stats on this, but I will just say, because I'm old, that people used to stay with a company forever.
Mm.
And that just is not the case anymore. People are looking for what is the best fit and
Hmm.
why. And there's more options out there, and they're for good people. There are more options out there. And so we as business owners need to think through. So I just want to share some of my stories, Jada, just that I've experienced personally. You and I understand this, but also from my coaching and consulting clients. And, when I look back over the years of all the teams that I've built and the teams I've coached, one truth stands out, and that culture tied to core values is a huge difference maker. This is one of the things I'm telling a lot of my coaching clients is they are building their attracting new talent as they're building their onboarding systems, all things I help businesses create. And we think through, you know, we have to make sure that they come into a culture where they're a good fit for us and us for them. One of the things that I think is important as we're looking to attract new talent is that we understand this is their life, right? And you want to I hate it, Jada, when the interview process becomes I'll sell you, you sell me. I don't like that. It needs to be more of a true relationship. If you think about, and I know it's a totally different entity here, but you'll get the what my point here. If you're dating, you don't want to be sold the person. You don't want them selling you on something that's not authentic. And you don't, and frankly, it's not your best wise decision to be selling them on you. Because when the truth all comes out, the foundation of the relationship is not based in reality and truth. So I think that is so important to think of when we are in business. And I've experienced this. I've experienced this firsthand in my own businesses. When we've hired people without aligning the core value, it doesn't matter how talented somebody was on paper, they don't stick. They don't thrive. The culture's not a good fit. Skills can be trained, but someone, if they don't fit the same values, have the same driven passion for the business, you'll always be pulling in opposite directions. And that's not fair for them to be put on a team that they're not going to thrive in. And it certainly is not fair to your current team or for yourself. And so I think that it's really important that we start to think about, okay, how do we do this? Now, on the other hand, when we slow down and start hiring based on a good cultural fit, asking questions that uncovered whether if someone believed to have grit, transparency, urgency, whatever that is, the team dynamic changes because everyone is kind of wired the same. And then people, I know this sounds weird, but people work harder not because they have to, but because they care, because they've bought into the mission and they're not fighting everyone else on the team. This is critical. You got to be thinking about. And the other thing I want to dive into the word mission a little bit. People now are very mission driven. What is it that your company is doing, product or service, to help people? What is the mission of it? We can get behind a mission better than we can get behind a product. We can get behind a mission better than we can get behind a service. So, what is the mission behind the service or product? Okay, really important. And then, what core values need to go with that mission? Just something to kind of think through. And we'll dig a little bit deeper in here too. But I also want to say I've also watched with my clients the one who take the time to define their values clearly, their core values, communicate them, and use them as a filter to hire, filter during training, even letting people go um, if they don't fit within the first 90 days. They're the ones that build teams that last. Those teams don't just hit numbers. They create momentum, loyalty, and energy that carries the whole business forward during tough times. I think if you're listening and you have a business, isn't that the team you want? I mean, hello, all both hands. That's the kind of team that you want. A team that is rowing in the same direction. They're passionate and they have all the same basic core values. Some better at it than others on some of those core values, but the base core values. And here's a piece my leaders underestimate. Culture doesn't happen by accident. My mentor, Darren Hardy, will tell you, you have a culture. If you haven't defined it, you have one. And it could be one of complacency. It could be one of allowing excuses. It could be you've created a culture. You got to sit back. However, people are behaving are the culture you've created. And so you need to stand back and say, okay, I have to protect it. I have to model it. I have to define it. And I've got to repeat it until it becomes second nature. Otherwise, burnout turns into turnover and disengagement creeps up. If you know the numbers, 30% right now, even if you're a great company, 30% of your team is thinking about quitting. Now, that's a stat I'm stealing from your stats there. 30% of your company is thinking about quitting. I just got to tell you guys, that's scary. Now, sometimes that person that is thinking about quitting maybe should be the person you should have already fired. But but not always. And so what do we do? What do you do about that? Well, I'm going to tell you, if you can base everything more on core values, accountability, and making sure everyone's on the same level playing field, it reduces that strain. There's other components too. You also have to be buying into your people, and you also needed to be developing your people, and you really must know this. And Jada, I think you could speak to this better than anyone I know. People work for you not for your reasons, but for their reasons. This is really important because we own a business and we own a product or whatever. We think that it's the cat's meow. But the reality is, other than having a vision, we must build businesses that allow our people to have the life they want, to achieve what they want, to do what they need to. Because you must know if somebody has to pick between a business and their family, typically, not always, but mostly, the business will lose. And so you have to ask yourself, am I building a business that could attract people that are high caliber? And can I create a working environment that makes high caliber people understand that the business is used for their life and that the business is lucky enough to get their talent because the business gets it?
Yeah, and I'll chime in on that too and just say, like, obviously our listeners know I have a daughter. We've talked about that multiple times. If you've been with us for any amount of time, you know. I have she's a little over a year and a half, and I've told Athena this, and I don't say this to be cocky, but like genuinely, had I not been able to keep her home for almost the first year of her life and just do like a Mother's Day out, had I not performed to my abilities, they would have had every right to fire me, of course. But had I not had the opportunity to prove that I could juggle the 2 and keep my daughter home and not have to send her to a traditional daycare for that amount of time, they probably would have lost me. Like, I probably would have taken a lower paying job just to work part-time to make it work. And so I think that that is just, maybe that's not everyone's priority, but that was my priority, and that was something that was really important to me was having a company that, 1, believed that I could still perform to the highest standards, but then also give me that flexibility and that freedom to put my family first.
Mhm. And critical, isn't it?
Mhm.
I mean, that's why I started working with a home building company.
Mhm.
I could have made a lot more money going somewhere else a long time ago.
Mhm.
It's since worked itself out for me, but it wasn't it was about what my life needed. And I
Mhm.
think that that is if you're a leader listening to this, if you wanna attract great talent, you need to find out what their life needs. Now, I'm gonna tell you
Mhm.
this, great talent won't take advantage.
Mhm.
And
That's
if
true.
you hire for the right core values and then they won't take advantage. Matter of fact, they'll work harder. I will
Mhm.
tell you, I work harder because of the flexibility I have.
Yeah.
And I know you do too.
Yeah.
Um, because I get to prioritize what is most important in my life. And so therefore I'll work harder,
Mhm.
understanding that my life comes first.
Yeah.
And so you got to think about that as a leader. Now, if you're somebody and you're like, but Athena, we have a corporate structure. I can't do that. Work within the realm you have to.
Mhm.
Okay? Work within the realm you have to. But if you are starting a business or you're scaling a business, you want to think about what are you doing to understand what your people need to live the best life they need to live, and are you creating that environment, part
Mhm.
core value, part company culture, so that they wanna stay with you even in hard times and they don't go jump ship all the time.
Mhm.
Because the longer you have somebody on the team, first of all, the more valuable they are, right?
Mhm.
So think about that. Now, you can also have a traditional environment and come up with ways that you can still value family, they can still value the things that are important to them. So it's all about the culture, getting really to understand your people. So I want you guys to, as you're listening to this, I will tell you, hiring is one of the hardest things to do as a leader. It is by far one of the most complicated. Fortunately for me, I took some courses and classes with, you guys know, Darren Hardy, and read a number of other books. executed a lot of them. The one that made the biggest difference was really defining our core values as a company and then hiring to those core values and then setting the team's expectation to those core values.
Mhm.
And I want to frame this because a lot of my consulting clients get this wrong. Core values is not your mission. Core values are also not integrity, honesty. Those things should be given.
Mm.
Can we just say that? And your core values should be actionable and visible. So if you can't see it, how is it a core value? So, for example, I know, one of our core values is grit. You can see grit. You can see people getting it done when it's hard. Another one is farmer work ethic. We see people putting in the hours. We see them. Another one is knowing your impact on others, meaning you are setting yourself up to the standard that, hey, I know if I don't show up and give my best, then the rest of the team will suffer or the client will suffer. Hey, I know the words I say here will impact people. We want you to be aware of that. So those are just, I mean, those are not all of them, but you want to think about your core values they need to be something that you can see, can be just demonstrated. And I don't like that, I'm going to say it again. Being ethical and honest is not, that should just be a given, right? No one, don't hire a cheater. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't want that. But the other thing I want to say, and this is something I've learned from mentors, and don't have any shame about this. If you're a leader and you're creating your culture, the core values need to be able to function well with you. Okay, this is important. You're the leader. You're the one that you have to live up to them, and you're the one that's going to enforce them. So, for example, a core value for anyone that works for me, you cannot be a snowflake. You've got to have grit. If you are, get easily offended and you're weak minded and have a non growth mindset, you are not gonna work well with me. I am not gonna tolerate we will butt heads real fast. So, I know that about myself, so some of the core values have to reflect some of the things that I expect in people that work with me. And so you don't have shame about that. You're the leader for a reason, and some of those things need to be there. So, Jada, I know you've witnessed this. You've worked with our the home building company before we really established core values versus after, and holy cow, the difference, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I will say too, like, people may exhibit the core values, but they may not be I don't know how else to say this, but they may not be proud of them enough, like, until you say that this is a core value, and then people are like, "Dang, I do have grit," or, "I do have a farmer's work ethic." Like,
Yeah.
I am up at 6:30 in the morning messaging clients back or whatever it is. Like,
Mhm.
you don't feel that recognition even probably by yourself or even the team until you put that into a core value, and then you can shout out your team members, and then that just builds on to the culture, of
Mhm.
yeah, just building that core values. And so I've definitely seen that as we've implemented and really just created those core values, put them into words, and I've seen the team take ownership and be proud of themselves and proud of their teammates for exhibiting
Mhm.
those core values, even if
It
they
makes
already
a
had them.
fun
Yeah.
way to recognize people
Mhm.
or
I
call each
agree.
other out.
Yeah, or call each other out if you're not
But in a
hitting the core values.
kind way,
Yes,
You
yeah,
can
of
call
course.
somebody out in a kind way and say, "Hey, that is not reflective of our core value."
Yeah.
And people are like, "Okay, yeah, you're right."
Okay, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a personal attack. It's saying it's
Mm-mm.
not, "Hey, our team core value is X."
Yeah.
But then it's funny too, Jada, I'm so glad you brought that up because what it does is it creates an environment for everyone's looking for positive, and your eyes are
Mhm.
open to like, dang, like we have a guy on our home building team that one of our core values is get shit done now, which is urgency. And he exemplifies it. Like you
Mhm.
exemplify it, Jada, but he takes it. I mean, he's like,
Oh, I
bam.
know. He makes me wanna raise my bar, and I feel like my bar is already to the roof on that
It is.
one.
And it is to the roof. And he is just wow. And
Yep.
what it does in that case, like sometimes if I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I think of him and I'm like, what would Larry do? His name's Larry. I'm like, what would Larry do in this situation? Or Jada is what I would call our core value champion of both companies in knowing your impact on others.
Oh,
She holds that bar for the entire company. And so sometimes I'll do something, I'm like, now what would Jada say? And, or what would she do? What it does is it gives you an example,
mm.
real life examples of people exemplifying.
Exemplifying, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Living out that value. So then you have something to like search, you're like, I want to
Mm,
be like that. It's like I want to be like Mike, but in our company, like I want to be like, I want to be like Larry, I want to be like Jada. Diamond has this awesome way of looking at something from multiple different brain parts, like
mhm,
critical and emotional. I'm like, I wonder what she'd say. And you get to step back and be like, okay, that's what they would probably do. And it just gives you a frame of reference.
mhm.
And it lets you realize that it's obtainable,
Yeah,
right? So, anyway, you guys obviously were a little passionate about this. We've just seen it change,
yeah,
and in such a beautiful way. But
yeah.
are there some stats?
Yes, there are, and I again pulled 3. I feel like 3's
Okay,
been my running number this season.
that's good.
I
Good.
pulled 3 stats for this episode, and one of them shows that studies found that when an organization has a supportive culture, one that values the employee development, individualized support, and clear goals, employees are less likely to want to leave. Culture
Mm,
boosts organizational commitment and reduces turnover and tension by creating more satisfaction in the role.
mm.
So that was the first one. And then the second one, it was a survey and it found that 92% of employees across multiple generations say that company culture affects their decision to stay with an employer.
Hmm.
That's a very high
Wow.
percentage. And
Yeah.
likewise, 71% of employees report that their organization's value factor into their job satisfaction. So those core values, they're not just the nice to have things, they really do matter to people in
Hmm.
their everyday work life.
I like that one.
And then the third one shows that companies with strong culture see up to a 40% lower turnover rate and 72% higher employee engagement
Wow.
levels compared to companies with weaker
Wow.
cultures. And toxic culture is a powerful predictor of turnover. Environments lacking inclusion, fairness, and purpose drive people away even when compensation is reasonable.
Mhm. You can't make enough money to work in toxic.
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, it's not worth it.
Nope, not at
It
all.
it is not worth it. But I've made less to work in a better environment that allowed me to be a mom.
Mm,
And I'm no dissing to the dads out there. I'm sure I know you guys make sacrifices too, but I'll never regret that. In my
mm,
life, I'm never going to look back and say I made less money or I missed out on these other opportunities because I was a great mom.
mhm.
You know, I'm not gonna feel that way.
Yeah.
So, I know most of the guys that are on our team, and they don't wanna miss their kids' games.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? They don't wanna
Yeah.
miss those kids' games, and so they appreciate the flexibility to put their family first, get their job done, but get their family put their family
Yeah.
first and not miss out on the things that you can't get back in life.
Mm-mm.
Right? So just something to think about if you guys are leaders out there, um, we're gonna have to get more competitive. We're gonna have to realize that people want both. They want a life and they want to earn and produce.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna do about that? The other thing is, can I just say this before I get into rubber meets the road? I'm getting
Yeah.
really on a tangent here, but I'm passionate about this. Leaders, the old adage that if we don't micromanage them, well, some people we have to, but that if we don't micromanage them and if we don't force them to do this, then they're not going to give us their best efforts. That is a fallacy. Um, the thing is, if you create a good structure for them, and I kind of tease that some people, I'm not going to say somebody, people don't need micromanage. Some people need more accountability than others. And I'm learning that I have somebody on my staff that I'm just learning just requires more accountability. I don't need to watch everything this person does, but I need to check in morning and night. Um, just additional accountability. However, I will say this: the people. typically that if you hire them right and you give them the ability to just tell them, get your job done. This is what I need. People will surprise you. They rise to the occasion. Very few people actually take advantage of that.
Mhm,
Sometimes you do. If somebody does that, that's means you didn't hire well. Just
mm,
FYI. Anyone who's ever taken advantage of that, I can look back and say, okay, I didn't hire through the core values. And so that's my fault. But if you can hire through the core values, do good onboarding, they won't take advantage. Matter of fact, they work more.
mhm.
It's weird. You don't even have to ask them to work more. Matter of fact, on our team, we have to tell people, please don't be a workaholic. Please put your family first.
Yeah. I was gonna even kinda say something along those lines, and I know not obviously every, like, corporate structure has this flexibility, but our team does have unlimited PTO, and not a single person takes advantage of that. I think our team probably uses like, less than 20 days of PTO a year, like, yeah, a person, but people don't abuse it, and, like,
Mm-mm.
my husband, he's in a corporate structure, and I think he gets, like, 25 days a year or something like that. So our team that has unlimited PTO is using less than,
Yeah,
people in corporate just because it's there when we need it, and so we don't abuse it.
it's weird. If you
Mhm.
hire the right people, you just won't.
Yeah.
But I will say this too. I also have employees that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon might post pictures that they're at the pool.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Mhm.
I don't care. Like maybe you need to be at the pool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
Maybe
you
the
need to
pool
take a
is the
nap
best
so that
thing
you
for
can be
you.
productive.
Exactly. So anyway, just some things to think about. All right. So rubber meets the road. Again, this is a subject that means a lot to me. I will say this. I'm going to do a shameless plug. If you're a business owner and you're like, oh my gosh, Athena, I need help with this. You guys, this is not a course yet that I've created, but this is one of the main things I do to help business people.
Mhm.
Please, if you're interested, reach out to us, have a conversation with me about even just helping with you with this part of your business. It's hugely impactful. I do this often. I've been doing it for years. Please reach out, schedule an appointment, and we would be happy to have a conversation. Okay. And if I have enough conversations, it may be one of the first things that we build curriculum wise going for 2026. But please don't do this alone. I have the capacity. I want to help you. Get connected with me, please. All right. So number one, rubber meets the road here. Define your core values clearly. I mean, I think we've said that. You really need it. I'm going to tell you start with 3 to 5. My mentor says never go over 12. Right. So really think of it. And the bigger thing here, they have to look like action. This is really critical. You need to be able to see it, right? Because if you can't see it, then you can't identify it in other people and you can't hire to it. All right. Number two, hire through that value lens. So when you are hiring, you want to think through, do they exemplify all of those core values? And for my coaching clients, we have a proven, true hiring process that is effective that I share with my coaching clients. So, um, but you want to make sure that you hire through that lens. One of my coaching clients, I just have to, I'm so proud of them. They unfortunately hired a salesperson before we got into this portion of their training and it went disastrous. Their salesperson, Jada, who had all the skill, all the things, right? But they didn't hire to core values because we hadn't done that part of their curriculum yet. This guy, first corporate event, my clients, big corporate bosses were all there. The person gets sloshed drunk and makes a
No.
fool out of my client.
Mm.
And so they're embarrassed, whatever. They have to terminate this person. It's traumatic. It's just awful, right?
Yeah.
So we immediately they call me, Athena, we need help with this too. We immediately get on that. We come up with core values. We come up with this new hiring structure. They just hired. Today, I'm meeting that new hire. I help them with that process. And I'm telling you, this person has got grit. She's going to be amazing. It's 100% different hire. And so you have to know what those core values are so you don't get the person that the resume looks good, but their character is disastrous. right? So where do you that's how you do that. So anyway, that's a real life example that's just happening, and gosh, that felt good to help this client because I care about them, and what a nightmare the other thing. So hire through value lens. Number 3, train beyond skills. Okay, so when you get somebody on board, first of all, I'm going to tell you, you need to have what I call 30, 60, 90 onboard process, and every company is a little bit different, but you have to have that. That's something that we are working on in our companies, getting more robust at. But it's not just about how to do the job. It's how do you show up exhibiting the core values every day? How do you also have a growth mindset, which by the way is one of our core values? How do you interact with the clients? How do you interact with the team? These are all things that are beyond just can you do something? Right, and so you want to make sure that you're doing hiring for that, because not only will they make more profitable for your company, but if you hire correctly with that, they'll stay with you longer. Okay, so, they're more productive, they'll fit better with your team, and they'll stay with you longer. All those things help you make more money. Number 4, create a recognition system around your core values. Jada and I have already kinda talked about it. We call each other out, about, who's exemplifying what, and how fun is it to have your peers, not just your leaders, tell you how amazing you are at X, Y, and Z. Especially sometimes when you don't even think people are looking and then somebody calls you out on something. It feels good. And so you want to do that. And the more people are recognized, the better they feel and the more they want to stay at a company. And if you have salespeople, which most of us do, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, statistically, salespeople want recognition more than they want money.
That is interesting because also a lot of people in the sales industry, I feel like, or roles are money motivated, and that's why they got into sales. So I think
Mhm.
that speaks volumes that they want
Mhm.
recognition about that.
Yeah, think about our frontline salesperson. Do you think
Mhm.
he wants more recognition or more money, honestly?
I think he wants more recognition.
He does. He
Yeah.
does.
I think he is motivated, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's motivated by not have by having a glass ceiling essentially. But I think he requires a lot more motivation
Mhm.
as well.
Yep. But what if I told you he's actually now said, "I'm willing to make a flat salary to get more recognized."
I think my jaw would be on the floor.
Well, he said it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Yep. The need for recognition is high, high. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not saying that, all salespeople, they are driven by money. I like earning money, but I'm
totally.
telling you that one doesn't replace the other. So as leaders, we need to say need to have the ability to make a certain amount of good money, but they also need to get recognized. In our problem, the reason why our guy is changing his mind is because he feels like he never gets recognized. He only gets beat up, even though he makes really good money. And so it's starting to wear him out. And so, you need to be asking that question of your people and understanding that your people need recognition. And by the way, salespeople need it mainly, but everybody likes a little recognition. Even the boss sometimes. Who we never get recognized. Um, Hardly ever. Number 5, pulse check your engagement. So, one of the things that's really important with your team is checking in with them. How are things going? What could we be doing different? What could we be doing better for you? Jada and I have regular conversations about this. The only reason I know this about my other staff person is because I'm having the conversations, right? And you have to be having these conversations so that you can make sure that you're staying in front of it and that you're working to help them be the best that they can be, and that you're listening. And by the way, too, as a leader, don't be afraid to have them tell you what's not going right. Can we just not be afraid of that? Be open. They'll tell you what's not working so that you can do something to fix it before you lose this amazing talent you have. And number 3, build a culture into a remote or hybrid. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I want, no, they have to be in the office. I think you need to really think about it. I think you need to really evaluate for your people, your brand, your service, if it could work, if it couldn't work, and do some analytics and don't be rigid. Be open to opportunities, even if it's half and half. I think it's really important. I know, Jada, you and I know people that are super talented that companies will scare them away if they tell them they have to go back to work full time, back to an office. So I think that that's important. However, I also have somebody on our one of our teams that feels like they may need an office because they're getting tired of working from home. So I think again, it's about having that conversation, being flexible, knowing your business and not getting rigid. There are some people that have to, clock in and out, but really start looking at what else could I do? What kind of hybrid situation can I do?
Yeah.
And then number 7, you better practice what you preach. As a leader, you better be practicing what you preach, for sure. And then number 8 is do it consistently. So if you are a leader, you better make sure that not only are you exhibiting them all, but you're being consistent at it. And I will say this, that you're humble enough to get called out if you're not.
Mm.
Okay. So as a leader, you don't get a hall pass. If you're not doing a core value, you get called out too. And by the way, you should get called out even harder, because you set the stage. Now, I will say this, it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. It means that you're going to be vulnerable and that you're going to be honest about it. And everyone can be working on any of the core values. So I hope that helps. It's a really, you guys, this is a lot to unpack. So I'm going to say it again. If you're a business owner, you need this help, please schedule on a time with me, and see if I can come up with a hybrid coaching for you that could be of help. So, Jada, where do we go from here?
Well, like Athena said, if you do need help, I will put a link so that you can get connected with her, schedule some time on her calendar, and just connect, see if there's something that we can do to help. But otherwise, if this episode was applicable to you, your business, or someone you know, just please subscribe, share it with someone that who needs it, and leave us a review so that we're easier to find for others. And don't forget, Athena's book is coming soon. So get early access, discounts, and exclusive extras by joining the list in the show notes. And speaking of the show notes, I will make sure that there's a link to download the season 7 resource guide, as well as a link to join Athena's community where we have her value add vault, which is our gift to you for listening to this podcast. Inside, you'll find a list of interview questions to find that the right fit for each seat on your team, along with many other resources we've created for you. So we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys, for being here.